In all the talk of the planets, two of them are little explored or mapped: Uranus and Neptune. Both are so extremely far away and isolated, and even more so their moons, though Titan is known due to its retrograde orbit and the fact that it is slowly being torn apart by Neptune. But in all the jokes made about the other planet, which I will be calling by its actual name, I don't care if you laugh, but I do think we should call it Kalos instead. What's often missed is its moons. In fact, the maps of it on Google are still incomplete till this day. But Uranus's largest moon, Titania, is a fascinating place, full of valleys, potential life, and lots of ice. So, today, let's dive into this mysterious place that is so unexplored. Titania is the largest moon of Uranus, followed by Oberon. It takes 8.7 days to orbit the planet and is 8 times smaller than Earth, resulting in a gravity of 0.371 meters per second, compared to Earth's 9.8 meters per second. It also has a density of about 1.71 grams per centimeter cubed, which is lower than that of most rocky bodies. This indicates that it is composed of roughly equal parts water ice and denser rock or carbonaceous material. This composition suggests that Titania formed in a colder region of the solar system, and that it has an icy core. Titania was discovered on the same day as Oberon, on January 11th, 1787, by William Herschel, later discovering 4 more satellites, but they were revealed to be misdiscoveries. All of the moons of Uranus were named for characters created by William Shakespeare. In the case of Titania, it was named for the Queen of Fairies from the book A Midnight Summer's Dream. They were named by Herschel's son after the discovery of 2 more moons, Ariel and Umbriel. For the next 50 years, only William Herschel saw the moon, but these days they're visible from amateur telescopes, or at least they better be, requiring a telescope of around 8 inches with a magnification of 347x. Titania was originally given the designation Uranus 1 due to it being the largest, but was changed to Uranus 3 due to it being the 3rd farthest moon from Uranus. The history of exploring Uranus is pretty easy to talk about, so let's do that. The only craft to ever visit the planet and Titania is Voyager 2, so what happened there? On August 20th, 1977, Voyager 2 lifted off from Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral, Florida, bound for Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, being the only probe to visit all the outer planets. After passing the planets and picking up several records and observing eruptions on Io, and performing studies on Titan's atmosphere, in January 1986, it arrived at Uranus for a flyby of all of its moons, and it took the only images of Titania in good detail. The best images of this moon we have is of a resolution of about 3.4 kilometers and covers around 40% of the surface, meaning most of this moon is still unknown. The southern hemisphere at the time was pointed at the sun, so the North Pole is still a mystery. The planets basically orbit up and down on the plane instead of sideways like most moons, so the poles are equally covered. Since the flyby, there have been no visits to Titania or Uranus. The Uranus Orbiter and Probe mission has been highlighted as a high-priority mission, and the design is still being worked on, so we will have to see what comes of that. But from the news I've seen, it doesn't really look good for NASA as a whole. Currently, no missions are set to land on Titania. Titania was most likely formed by the same thing that caused Uranus to flip on its side, which theorized to be a collision from another planet. So, it seems to orbit on its side compared to the Sun, meaning the moons orbit up and down, making them spotting very, very easy if you have a telescope. Titania is known for its valleys and craters, with its surface being littered with them, and was noticed very prominently when Voyager 2 flew by. It was formed using an enogenic process, which is where the surface is molded by forces inside the moon, so sort of like how continents here on Earth can shift around. Most moons of Uranus are either mostly dark or bright. Titania is somewhere in between, with 42 years of sunlight and 42 years of darkness for each of the pole. Titania is more reddish than Oberon, apparently, but the photos don't seem to suggest that, and fresh impact craters have been observed to be slightly blue. The leading theory is that it exposes subsurface oceans, but this is yet to be confirmed, especially considering pretty much every astronomer in the world thinks that subsurface oceans are a thing everywhere. The equator of Titania is home to such things as the Messina Chasmatza, which is a large canyon and mountain range, as well as the Gertrude crater, which is the largest crater on Titania. The surface of Titania is less heavily cratered than the surfaces of Oberon and Umbriel, which means the surface is probably younger. That, or the surface is constantly being moved around, which supports the enogenic process theory from earlier. All large craters on Titania have flat floors and central peaks. The only exception is Ursula, which is a pit to the center and the west of Gertrude. There is an area with irregular topography called the Unnamed Basin, real creative name, which may be another degraded impact basin with a diameter of 330 kilometers. Titania's surface was mostly formed using these impact craters, and all poles and all surfaces have been affected, but the fact that Titania has fewer moons due to the enogenic processing says some pretty interesting things about the moon, and explains its lack of craters. The most recent enogenic processes were mainly tectonic in nature and caused the formation of canyons, which are actually giant cracks in the ice crust. The cracks were caused by Titania expanding about 0.7%. Titania also has a seasonal atmosphere, one of only 2 moons that ever experiences this, the other one being Callisto, but low gravity makes it hard to hang on to any substantial atmosphere. And that was all the info I have on Titania. It's a bit more of an unusual video, but I saw that not a lot of people had talked about this, and there are some pretty interesting things when it comes to space that I really want to talk about. So, I'm glad I made this video. And I wonder how many times you've laughed throughout this whole thing. Let me know. When will the next mission be to Titania? When will we figure out its ice oceans? And when will people stop laughing at the planet's name? It's a very good question.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff of Space Shuttle Atlantis on a mission to build, resupply, and to do research on the International Space Station.
Houston now controlling. Atlantis begins its penultimate journey to shore up the International Space Station. Atlantis now in the proper alignment for its 8.5-minute ride to orbit, 4.5 million pounds of hardware and humans taking aim on the international outpost.